One thing that's taken me nearly, I don't even know how long it's been, 4.5 months now to sort of process, and to be honest, well, I'm still working through my emotions as I make these videos, but the ending of Game of Thrones, regardless of how you feel about it, it's over. And as far as we know, we're never gonna see those characters on screen again. And I know, I spent months, I spent years after season 7 ended, saying, this is the end, I can't wait to see how it goes out. And now that that's finally here, I didn't realize how big of an impact this show had on my life. All that aside, there's one thing in the meantime, between time, that we can do until they drop this precursor series, and that's play What If. What if Daenerys was resurrected? In this video, I want to discuss several things that the Mother of Dragons may do if she were to be reborn into the world that she was so cruelly taken from by her lover Jon Snow. Before we get started, please slap a like on this video, as the like goal is going to be, let's see, you guys blew that last one the hell out of the water, so let's shoot for something crazy like 4,420 likes. Also, make sure you're subscribed, and then, this is the most important part, make sure you have your notifications turned on so that way you get alerted every single time I drop a video. Long nights. Now, before we really delve into what Daenerys would do, I guess we should spend a bit of time explaining how she would most likely be resurrected. Now, I think the most obvious choice is that Drogon was last seen flying east with Daenerys' body, so that leads me into believing that he's going to Volantis, mainly to the Red Temple, or I should say the Temple of the Lord of the Light in Volantis. And if you're wondering what that is, well, it's known to be like 3 fucking times larger than the Sept of Baelor. Now, the actual temple is guarded by an army of slave soldiers known as the Fire Hand, which is yet again something that we didn't get to see in season 8. But that aside, in the books, this temple has a high priest known as Beniro. Now, he's not really a character on the TV show, and that we get sort of in the place of as Kinvara. Now, from what she exchanges in that small scene she has with Varys, I would think that she's just as powerful as Melisandre, and with hundreds of other fire priests and priestesses, I'm pretty sure they could get the job done of bringing Daenerys back to life. The Dragon Queen rides again. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but that kind of sounds like the plot to a potential movie that HBO could do without D&D and maybe correct season 8? Okay, a better way to put it would be to fix the things that I didn't like about season 8 by having like some 3-hour insane movie that they're starting to film right now they just haven't told anyone about. Oh, man can dream. You all let me know down below in the comment section if there's anything you think I missed about a potential way for Daenerys to be resurrected. Now, the first thing I think Daenerys would want to do when she's reborn is obviously eat like a big fat steak, but that aside, she's going to want to rebuild her armies. She will be aware of how powerful Bran is as king, and maybe she'll find out what happened with Jon, but before she does any of that, she'll need to regain her power. I see her flying back to the Bay of Dragons and meeting with Daario. Upon arrival, she obviously understands that she's been portrayed a little bit, but nothing compared to what Jon Snow does, so I feel like she may rekindle that flame that she left behind with Daario. And just as a little side note, when I say betrayal, like with Daario, I mean he probably would have done something like basically tried to sell the kingdom or the actual Bay of Dragons and maybe use the gold that he would have made from selling the throne to the Bay of Dragons and live something more suitable to his lifestyle. Like he probably bought some sellsword company and is just chilling off somewhere. When he hears that Daenerys comes back, that's likely when he'll go and meet with her. Now, as far as what I mentioned earlier about Daenerys will know how powerful Bran has become, Bran being the king of Westeros, he's basically united all the 7 kingdoms. That really hasn't been done since Daenerys' ancestors reigned over Westeros, like Aegon the Conqueror or Jaehaerys the Conciliator. Not only would Bran have made Westeros completely handicap accessible, but also he will likely have a 7-nation army stand behind his back. And if he catches Dany coming his way, well, they'll be hell to pay. So not only has Bran united Westeros and it's likely the strongest it's ever been, but he also has the power of foresight. He literally will have ravens all over Westeros and likely all over the world, and we'll know as soon as Daenerys has been brought back. Dany is no fool. She would have lost everything and actually lost more than most people. Her life. I doubt she'll make that same mistake twice, and she'll realize that she's at her strongest when she asks her dragons. I'm pretty sure this is when Daario will offer himself to say, hey, look, in order to prove myself to you again, let me venture across Essos and maybe even into Westeros and try to find you some dragon eggs. You can use your Targaryen goodness and your magical abilities to hatch these dragons, and that's when it will be found out that Drogon has actually already laid a clutch of eggs. After losing his brothers over in Westeros, that's one of the first things he did after getting Daenerys resurrected. This is when there's a potential time jump, if this thing were a movie, whatever the hell I'm doing in this video. If there's some time jump in the story that allow the dragons to hatch and then grow larger in due time. And obviously during this time, Westeros is finding out about Daenerys' resurrection. This means that anyone who had the alliance with Daenerys, i.e. Yara and maybe Grey Worm, wherever the hell he's at, maybe they decide to come back around. Yara would obviously then send several ships and go and meet with Daenerys and maybe explain to her what state Westeros is in right now and explain to her the best strategy of maybe how to take it over. Honestly, I think that's where we could have our first conflict. I know that she's supposed to be loyal to Daenerys, but with however much prosperousness has happened, I know I'm just like making up words and shit here, but however much the kingdom is thriving under the rule of Bran will likely be hard for her to sort of ruin. She knows whatever information she relays to Daenerys, Daenerys is going to use that information to go and destroy what's happening in Westeros right now. Maybe she'll try to convince Daenerys otherwise, and this is when our resurrected Dany shows her true intentions. And, you know, this is where I'm going to go on a little mini rant. In season 8, they tried to make it seem as though Dany had been this mad woman that's been led up this entire, 10 years that we've been watching this show. And you could, if you look at it from a certain angle, I'll be sort of non-partial here, or, whatever you want to call it, because Dany is my favorite character. But if you look at it from a certain angle, then yes, sure. They've laid small little Easter eggs of about how she may potentially become the Mad Queen. But also, this show is famous for usurping your expectations. So if that's the case, and, they've been laying this groundwork the whole time, well, that wouldn't really make sense, because that's not what this show is famous for. If we're staying on key and Dany's been led up to be this Mad Queen the whole time, then at the last second, they should have switched it all around, and she should have came to her senses, and that conversation she has with Jon in the fucking throne room should have went a different way. And maybe he should have given her a chance to breathe and not have stabbed her. But no, that's not what happened. Instead, they made some interesting choices in storytelling and had Jon act almost completely out of character by stabbing Daenerys in the heart in cold blood. And apparently that event cracked a hole in space-time continuum in Westeros, because then Drogon shows up, acts out of character by burning the throne and not the guy who just murdered his mom. And then Grey Worm, the one guy who should at least fight Jon, but a trial by combat or something, nope, he's like, that's me dusting off my hands, because that's what Grey Worm did. I'm good, bro. I'll keep you prisoner for fucking months and just sit here and chill in King's Landing until everyone and the redhead girl comes down and tells me what I should do. Then I'm just gonna leave. But all that aside, I feel like what would happen is Daenerys would be brought back and be a little bit changed. She'd be more like Lady Stoneheart. So that would make her want to murder Yara for the treasonous thoughts that she's bringing up in her conversation with Daenerys, where she's like, maybe you should stay over here. And she's like convincing her for trying to not really go, because like I said, Westeros is likely the most prosperous it has been in centuries. Under the reign of Bran under Bran the Broken, I'm sure Westeros is the most prosperous. Why am I having so much trouble with this word? Prosperous. Westeros is prospering under Bran. This would then make Daenerys want to murder Yara by using dragonfire. Hey, maybe since we're going down that evil route, maybe something happens where the dragon eggs that Daenerys found from Drogon haven't quite hatched yet, and she decides to sort of sacrifice Yara as a blood sacrifice to get these dragon eggs to hatch. Maybe when these dragon eggs are born under those sort of circumstances instead of under love, maybe they're a lot more evil and they look a little bit more grotesque when they're born. Looking at the time on this video, it looks like we're a little under 9 minutes, so I think I'll go ahead and wrap it up. But don't worry, if you all want me to continue this series, I will. If you want me to put it more of in a fan fiction format, whereas I sort of write out a script and then just sort of read that script with less interruptions and maybe a little less of my side tangents, then let me know down below in the comment section. I asked you all last time if you wanted me to do an in-depth Fire and Blood series, and I saw that there were a lot of comments that wanted me to do that. So what I've decided to do is put it in the long form podcast, where it's going to be anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes, and I'm going to try to have guests on to help me discuss what is Fire and Blood Part 1. Now obviously that's going to be a multiple part series, so I am still trying to pull all those strings and get that together. I want to thank you all so so much for watching. If you could please slap a like on this video, as the like goal is going to be 4,420. Also, make sure you're subscribed, and then this is the most important part. Make sure you have your notifications turned on so that way you get alerted every single time I drop a video. Long night! I want to give a super special shout out to every single person watching this video, and a super special shout out to every single member of my Patreon family over on patreon.com/SirHuntsReviews. And also, I feel like now's a good time to mention, since I'm not posting as often, a good way to stay behind the scenes and know when I'm working on a video is to go and follow me over on Instagram.com/SirHuntsReviews. I pretty much post there every few days or at least a few times a week and try to keep everyone informed on either what I'm doing or how silly I'm being that day and doing some karaoke. I want to thank you all again so much for watching. My name's Mark, and this has been Sir Hunt's Reviews. I haven't done one of these after the credits sort of message things in a while, but anyway, what would you all name if HBO decided to do a movie with obviously D&D unattached because they're tired or whatever, but what would you all name the movie? I think Fire and Blood would be a good name. I feel like that's too much of an easy choice, but I think something along the lines of Reign of Vengeance or Fire and Fury or something. Obviously, it would have to have Game of Thrones attached to it, but maybe it wouldn't. Maybe it could sort of just be like a tiny text. So it would be almost like the last thing that people read. I think a good choice would be Mother of Dragons. Let me know what you all think down below in the comments section. Bye.